Welcome back to the Brown Lounge. I'm your host, Kevin Brown, and this segment is what we call Siren Songs. And Siren Songs is about winemakers and wine lovers just effectively telling us their stories. All winemakers and wine lovers have stories. I am delighted to be joined by Joe Forrest from Tempus Cellars out of Walla Walla, Washington. We're actually not in the Brown Lounge tonight, and we're not at Bin 41. We're actually overlooking Lake Union, which is a part of Seattle. So we have a beautiful scene tonight. Hopefully the sound will be great, and we won't have too many boat noises. But anyway, Joe's visiting here from Walla Walla for a wine tasting tonight, and I always like to start out by saying, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, welcome to Seattle.
Thank you.
So I always like to start out the segment. Audience always loves to know who you are, where you're from, how you got to this place, how'd you discover wines. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, I'm a Seattle native. Always was aware of wine because my father was a home winemaker, so he put me to work at a very young age making wine at home. And then I went to the University of Washington and struggled to find a career path.
Okay.
Yes. And after I graduated from the University of Washington, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, and I spent some time working at the Wild Ginger restaurant in downtown Seattle.
Famous restaurant.
Yes.
We love that.
And it was there where I was first exposed to a plethora of wonderful Washington wines. So up until that point, my only experience with wine was chugging magnums of Sutter Home in high school and college. And
like everyone.
Right. So
I never did that, but
some people did.
Some people did. I heard about it.
So it really opened my eyes to the range of flavors that higher end wines could have, and I really caught the wine bug initially while working there, and then did not really want to continue in the restaurant industry. I never really had the ability to read a table, and I can only be charming for so often. So I was remodeling houses in Seattle for about 3 years, and I always loved working with my hands. And in a roundabout way, it was a very natural progression into winemaking. I very shortly volunteered at a winery in Woodinville, and that solidified my decision to move to Walla Walla and start working at Seven Hills Winery.
What year was that?
That was in 2004.
Okay.
So I was a harvest intern at Seven Hills Winery, which I'm also a big fan of.
Yeah, sure, I know.
And worked at Tempus Cellars as the assistant winemaker for 3 years.
Another famous place.
Tempus Cellars, Eric Dunham started making the Tempus Cellars wines while he was the assistant winemaker at McColl number 41. So while I was working for him, I saw an opportunity to start my own project, and that is how Tempus Cellars came to be.
So you were mentored by some good people.
Yes, very much so.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a great story. So so you got to Walla Walla and you started your business, and so tell us a little bit about your first release and your fruit and what you brought out in the market. What year was that? Okay.
Well, basically, we started producing red wines for Tempus Cellars in 2006.
Okay.
So in 2006, we started with the plan in mind of producing a Walla Walla Valley Syrah and a Columbia Valley Bordeaux blend. And the backbone of our Bordeaux blend or Cabernet Sauvignon has always been Sagemore Vineyards Bacchus Block 10 Old Vine Cab that was planted in 1972, which makes it older than me. So as a winemaker, I really like the idea of working with really old vine fruit.
And so what are you going for when you're making your cab, or all your wines actually? Sort of like, what's your vision for your wines, and what do you want your customers to experience when they drink your wines?
Okay. Well, I see a lot of newer wineries, kind of the newer sort of young gun, sort of hipster wineries that are coming out, are really trying to do these kind of over-the-top, jammy.
You want to name names? Or?
No, we don't need to name names, but I'm sure that a lot of people know who they are.
Yeah, we've heard of a few of them.
And so what I really wanted to do was I wanted to have relatively low alcohol levels. I wanted to have really nice natural acidity by picking early. And as a winemaker, if you're watching the grapes ripen during harvest, there's a very distinct point where the grapes go from being sort of green or vegetative to being ripe, where they still have really low sugar levels, which is going to equal low alcohol, and then also have a lot of natural acidity, so we don't have to add tartaric acid to the wine. So I feel that picking an earlier side is going to preserve nice varietal characteristics as well as low alcohol, good natural acidity to make it very food friendly, and also kind of exhibit more of a feminine character in the wine.
You know, I tasted your wines, and it was the first thing that I felt. It was very fruit forward. There were a lot of aromatics, and it had kind of a soft touch to it, which actually is my favorite type of wine. So bravo on the wine. So how big's your production? Where do you make your wine? And tell us about how people buy your wines and the price range and so on.
Okay. So I currently work for a winery that's called Tempus Cellars as their winemaker.
Okay.
They are at the Walla Walla airport as well as our production facility.
Right.
So I'm able to make my wines there, and then we store our wine in a decommissioned World War II ammo bunker.
No. Is it temperature like a...
It is naturally temperature controlled.
Wow.
So for those who are environmentally friendly, it has zero carbon footprint.
Nice.
And so we pretty much guarantee people the most unique wine tasting experience they've ever had.
And what's the size of your production?
Our production currently is about 600 cases annually. We do about 250 cases of Riesling, and then about 350 cases of Reds.
Great. And how about the price point, the price range? Where people buy your wines?
Price point, our Riesling starts out at $16 per bottle. Our Walla Walla Syrah is $25 a bottle, and then our Columbia Valley Cabernet and our Malbec are $32 each. I direct distribute in the Seattle market in addition to having an agent that covers from Olympia to Bellingham. So our wines are readily available in the greater Seattle area. We sell wine at Esquin, Champion Wine Cellars, a number of neighborhood restaurants like Pear, Frank's Oyster House, St. Point Grill, Jack's Steakhouse.
Oh yeah, I love Jack's too.
Downtown Seattle, we're in Blue Acre, Washington Athletic Club, the Metropolitan Grill, and of course the Wild Ginger.
Great. Congratulations. That's a nice distribution.
Thank you.
And you have a website. Do you sell wine off your website?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And tell the audience what your website is.
Our website is www.tempuscellars.com.
And that reminded me to ask you about your label. I noticed there was a turtle on your label. What is that about?
Well, basically, our label designer has worked with everybody from Pabst Blue Ribbon to Leonetti Cellars, so we're hopefully somewhere in between. And our criteria was that we were very committed from the onset to aging all of our red wines for 22 months in 100% French oak and 8 months in bottle prior to release.
Well, that's a long time.
Yes. And we told our label designer that we wanted a very ornate, old-world-looking label that had an edge that didn't take itself too seriously. So he came up with the tortoise motif, and it's a really good metaphor for the winemaking process, the brand-building process, the getting yourself in front of the camera process. And so it's really been a good statement for who we are, what we're trying to do with our wines and the business and so on.
I like it. I like it a lot. It's a great story. So I always love to ask winemakers, and they frequently tell me that they drink their wines, of course, because they're drinking them and tasting them and developing a sense of their wines and a vision for their wines. But you must, like all winemakers, drink other wines.
Absolutely.
So when you're doing off-the-clock drinking, as we like to say, what do you drink and who do you admire? What winemakers do you like to drink?
Okay, well, first of all, I never drink my wines because I know what they taste like and I taste them. But when it comes time to drink wine, I obviously love Washington wines and Seven Hills Winery, Beja, and Woodward Canyon are three of my favorites. Internationally, I really like Burgundies. I think my wines, we try to be a little softer and a little more complex and little nuances and things like that. So we like that about Burgundies. Obviously, I like Bordeaux wines, mostly the higher-end, expensive ones that are really tough to buy when you're trying to make your own product.
I do too.
I really like wines from the Rhone Valley.
Okay. And so, when you're not working, I know you probably work a lot. You're a winemaker for another vintner, and you are making your own, so you're obviously pretty busy. But when you're not working, do you have things that you like to do? How do you relax?
I like to relax, believe it or not, by hanging out with my lovely wife and my two beautiful children. So,
how old are they?
My daughter is 4 years old, and my son is 4 months old. My daughter is crazy, just like me, and I really love spending time at home with them. I lot of hours. I spend a lot of time on the road doing deliveries and sales calls. So it's really nice to be home, having a nice dinner with my wife, and enjoying a nice blanket.
That sounds like the perfect day, actually.
Yes.
So that's going to wrap it up today. I want to just say thank you. And I want to thank the audience. This is going to wrap up today's segment of Siren Songs. We're here with Joe Forrest from Tempus Cellars. We're always end every program with a taste. So let's do that quickly. I love this. I love this particular wine. This is great. So cheers, and thanks for joining us on the Brown Lounge.
Thank you for having
Cheers.
me.